No, China's economy is not collapsing, as many finance YouTubers have recently claimed. YouTube was filled with these type of videos.
China is crumbling.
And another.
Complete disintegration of the Chinese economy.
And yet another.
And how this could quite literally lead China to the edge of the next Great Depression in a very short amount of time.
And a very short period of time appears to be 29, 28, 27, 25 days. Hello viewers and welcome back to Finance Insights. In today's video, we will reveal the real facts about China's current political and economic crisis. So let's get started. Sure, China appears to be in a serious difficulty, with a giant real estate bubble, bank runs, harsh COVID lockdowns, capital flight, and a growth strategy that has literally run out of steam. However, the sensational total collapse or Great Depression scenario, in my honest opinion, is exceedingly unlikely for two reasons. First, China's political structure is nothing like that of the United States during the Great Depression. Second, China's economy is nothing like that of other Asian economies in decline, such as Sri Lanka. So let's go into these distinctions. Sure, at first glance, China's position appears to be scarcely similar to the collapses of the United States banking institutions in the early 1930s and 2008. These two banking crises resulted in economic catastrophes so severe that they were dubbed the Great Depression and the Great Recession, respectively. Let us now compare China's current status to these two momentous events. The Great Depression begins with an enormous increase in banking lending as well as a large surge in asset prices, primarily in the stock market. Similarly, the story of the Great Recession begins with the epic credit growth accompanied by the massive asset price gains, primarily in the real estate and the stock market. So far, this is very similar to the story of China. Beginning in 2009, China's banks and other financial institutions went on lending binge, resulting in a massive increase in housing prices. As a result, Chinese cities like Shenzhen and Shanghai will be 4 times more expensive relative to income than New York in 2020. So far, so same. However, asset prices cannot continue to rise indefinitely in the relation to the size of the economy. In all three scenarios, asset prices had to fall at some time. The banks that made loans backed by these assets then began to fail in all three cases. People began to demand their money back from banks, unsure whether their money was safe or not. This is not conceivable in any modern banking system. As a result, in all three situations, people sought to be the first to withdraw their money from the banking system, resulting in a bank run. This is where China is right now, and it's also where the narrative of the Great Recession and the Great Depression begin to diverge. However, China's bubble is distinct than those in the United States during the Great Depression. The Federal Reserve Bank of the United States essentially allowed the banking system to fail. And let's be honest, if a normal firm runs into problems, it makes perfect sense to let it fail. The issue is that bank assets both payments and credit generation for the entire economy as a system. So allowing them to fail is akin to allowing them to fail. All of your power companies fail at the same moment. From a moral standpoint, it could be justifiable. However, you destroy your entire economy in the process. In the case of United States, the economy needed a decade to recover. However, after witnessing the devastation caused by the fall of the Lehman Brothers Bank during the Great Recession, the Federal Reserve Bank ended up rescuing the financial sector. Again, it is unjust to allow bankers to get away with creating a bubble. However, the United States avoiding another Great Depression and instead experienced a gentler Great Recession. And it is here that you will discover why China's tale different from the both Great Depression and the Great Recession. As in the Great Recession, China's central bank is well aware of the consequences of allowing your economy's credit and monetary systems to collapse in order to teach people a lesson. It has already cut interest rates and began rescuing banks and property developers. Furthermore, China's current situation differs from that of the Great Recession in two ways. First, its banking sector is already largely state-owned. As a result, a rush to obtain paper money from these institutions will be brief, because China's central bank can simply issue it. Second, unlike American politicians who waited for the bubble to be burst on its own, the Chinese government busted the bubble. To summarize, China's economy will not collapse like the Great Depression in the United States because, like the Federal Reserve, it has learned a crucial lesson from the Great Depression. Yes, irresponsible behavior should be punished, but not by bringing your entire economy to a halt. Furthermore, I believe China's crisis will be less severe than the Great Recession. The reason for this is that the Chinese government values stability more than the American government's. As a result, I believe it will strive harder to spend its way out of problems. However, one may argue that you cannot compare China to the United States at this moment because the United States issues the global reserve currency. It has more leeway to spend its way out of the problems because it is primarily sponsored by foreign governments in desperate need of dollars. Furthermore, one significant element of China's currency, one of the issues is that international investors appear to be abandoning the country in droves. So perhaps it could be compared to the other Asian economies that are currently failing in the inflationary debt spiral, such as Sri Lanka. No, and this is why China can save its financial system if it wants to. Unlike Sri Lanka, China has attained monetary independence, and it has done in two ways. The first path was to become a manufacturing powerhouse. According to the most recent estimates, it accounts for 1/5 of the global manufacturing production. As a result, it should come as no surprise that China has consistently run a trade surplus with the rest of the globe. As China's economy slows and thus imports less, its trade surplus has reached all-time highs. In other words, the world requires Chinese goods. As a result, despite the fact that it does not issue the reserve currency, its central bank has a mountain of dollars, and it can use these funds to defend the currency, easily offsetting the impact of fleeing international investors. This will assist it in avoiding a Sri Lankan-style collapse. However, as we witnessed in February when the Russian ruble completely crashed, a trade surplus is insufficient. Russia's difficulty at the time was that, while large amount of money were flowing into central bank coffers through exports, Russian residents were hurrying to move even more money out of the country. This takes us to the second way China has attained monetary independence: capital controls. This makes a total collapse exceedingly unlikely. Having said that, China is still in huge difficulty. Its property bubble is the largest in the world that has ever witnessed in absolute terms. But because it has gained monetary independence and most likely learned the lessons of the Great Depression in the United States, I don't think it will collapse. No matter how many sensationalist YouTubers try to convince you otherwise, instead, I believe the most likely scenario is a short recession, followed by a government insistence and then a protracted period of stagnation or steady decline similar to Japan. In macroeconomies, like in politics, I believe it is useful to conceptualize in terms of scenarios and assign them a probability. In my opinion, the sensational YouTuber collapse scenario is as realistic as throwing 2 dice and getting a 6. It's possible. However, given Xi's emphasis on social stability and China's monetary independence, this is exceedingly unlikely. On the other hand, I believe that a long-term economic recovery is equivalent to hitting 555, 444, or 333. More likely, but still unlikely. Finally, all other combinations suggest a stagnation scenario like to Japan. But what are your thoughts, and how realistic do you believe these eventualities are? Let us know in the comments if you want to talk about it more. In any event, we will continue to follow issue as it develops, so make sure you subscribe.